I gotta stop that. Hello, everyone. This is Michelle Oliver. I'm here today, of course, with Lisa Michelle Zagan, and we're really excited about this new format that we're doing. And the name of our show is Do the Book, because you gotta do something. Now,
Gotta
we're
do
really,
something. Might as well do the book.
yeah, because now she's being that way. Okay, that's good. Because we have a suspicion that if you are at all like us, it may be that your amazing, brilliant brain is full of knowledge that you have read and read and read and accumulated over the decades. And yet, perhaps, just perhaps, you have not actually implemented all of this knowledge. So our idea is to take a couple of books, and we may expand beyond that, but right now we are focused on two books. And the book we're going to talk about today, we just both started reading, and then we're actually going to do things from the book. We're going to choose little areas, 2 or 3 things, and then report on it next week. Am I correct?
That is the way.
That is the way. And this book, do you want to tell them what it is?
Michelle, what's the name of it?
It's Life Force. I'll tell because it's
Okay,
Life
because
Force by Tony Robbins, and then he has some Peter Diamandis is in there. So the idea is he brought together, I don't remember how many, but he went to, I think it was many, like maybe even over 100 different people that he interviewed. And Tony did it right. Tony did it with enthusiasm. Tony, I love Tony, so I'm making fun of him, but
well, I gotta tell you, because a lot of times I'll listen to audiobooks on double speed. So Tony Robbins does the introduction, I think the first chapter and the last chapter. Okay, you cannot listen to him on double speed. If just in case you were gonna try, he talks way too fast normally. I can't understand him.
I love that I was going to bring up the same thing, but I was going to say the introduction is Tony, and you're so excited. And then what the heck? They go into chapter 1, and then he's like, "Now let me introduce you to the narrator." And then all of a sudden you go from Tony Robbins to, "Now we're going to talk in monotone and give you."
Then you put it on double speed and you're
Oh
good.
my God. And it's such a letdown. You kind of feel like you just, I mean, no offense to the narrator, and I'm sure they're paying him, a pretty penny to do it, but it was kind of a letdown to go from Tony to chapter 1, wasn't it? Or the introduction of
Well,
chapter
all
1.
I know is that I got to increase my speed, which I was happy about.
Thank goodness we have that option. Okay, so everyone, Life Force, Tony Robbins and Company, he interviewed a bunch of people. It's all about longevity, and it's all about all of these breakthroughs in medicine and nutrition and cutting edge. What do you call it? What's the word? Like cutting edge procedures and things like that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about our impressions. We haven't really discussed this.
We're discussing it right now.
FYI, if you didn't notice, is very authentic, no scripts. And so we're gonna chat a little bit. We both read the introduction. I did. We're both listening on Audible, obviously. I did chapter 1, chapter 4, and part of chapter 10. I think we're going to probably speak mostly to chapter 4 because it's most relevant for you all, brilliant middle-aged goddesses out there who we are communing with today. So since I've been babbling, would you like to begin and just share a little bit about what your impression is?
Well,
you can go back.
I too listened to the same, right? The introduction, chapter 1, chapter 4, and I started another chapter. Now, some of it there are so many medical advances all around longevity. And I will say some of it felt like so much information and a lot of big words. And I love me some big words, but a lot of medical words and different innovations. So it was fascinating. Michelle and I decided to center in on the chapter on aging. And I'm really glad we did. That was a great anchor for me. But even still, so like there was information about different supplements, and I found my mind kind of, you know, doing all this. And then also wondering,
Per
so the
usual.
premise is, yeah, per usual, but the premise is of that chapter that aging is a disease.
Yes.
So it's a whole new way of thinking. And also that as a disease, it has many manifestations that we have thought of as ordinary, we've just sort of accepted, but then coming in and just, really thinking outside the box with another approach. So for me to just get super duper curious, like I noticed all my little judgments and my own safety kind of valves opening up. And then the other thing was that aging as a disease is treatable and potentially reversible. And these are some of the studies that were being done. And so I'll stop there, except to say that I did find myself going, well, what are the benefits of aging? And do I want to age? And this is the idea is
Hmm.
aging youthfully, aging where we have the energy to, reinvent ourselves at 80 kind of a thing. And so I'll stop there, Michelle. What was your impression?
I mean, I wrote that down too because I started to read. This comes from David Sinclair's book, Lifespan. It's
That's why I couldn't remember the name of our book, because I was like,
yeah.
I
There's
think
just
I'm thinking of David Sinclair's book.
so his is Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't Have to. And then those three pillars or topics or whatever principles that you just mentioned, which I'm going to say again, aging is a dis-ease and it's treatable and reversible. So I think they're thinking, of aging as, like you said, it's one thing with all of these, millions of problems that occur that we focus on. I don't know, like Alzheimer's or dementia or something, but these are just pieces of a treatable, reversible condition that we call aging.
Yeah.
And so it's not that we don't want to live long, that's longevity, but we don't want to age, right? So we don't want to have all of these symptoms and problems and health issues. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that you're going to have to read the book because we're not going to go into all of the descriptions of
Yeah.
every single supplement. I do want to talk about some of them today. But there's so much, it's medical breakthroughs is really what Tony's focused on, the majority of it. And then he comes in at the end with mindset, which will be fun when we
Yeah.
read that chapter, because we're both into that. But I thought maybe we could just share the things that stood out, and I'll tell you why don't we go to you, because I don't want to monopolize, and then come back and I'll tell you what I'm thinking I'm going to focus on.
Okay, so
We just
there were five things, pardon me, that lifestyle things that David Sinclair does, right?
yeah.
So the first one is that he limits red meat, and I have recently shifted more toward a plant-based diet. But my hubby and I have very different diet lifestyles,
Mhm.
and he's a fabulous cook and cannot get his brain around limiting meat. Like that just sounds ludicrous to him. And I've noticed, I'm telling you that to say that I started teeter tottering. So, what I found very, very interesting is I had recently made some lifestyle changes that this book reasserted.
Mhm.
And so The meat is one that I know I'll be focusing on. Sugar, I had basically eliminated all sugar from my diet, and only recently, within the past few weeks, and I have like this little excuse, but it was just an easy slide back into sugar. It's like once I give myself permission. Anyway, so that's another one. Limiting alcohol, that's something I already do. 8 hours sleep. I am so into my sleep and I walk every day. So they talked about exercising 3 times a week. But for me, sugar and then the red meat thing. But you know what I want to learn about the supplements from you because I'm gonna try some.
Okay, well, so this is what I love what you brought up because I wrote down here and they say point one is that environmental and lifestyle choices really matter.
Really matter.
And then they talk about, I've watched so many interviews with David Sinclair over the past, I'd say like 3 years, maybe
Hmm.
2 years.
I'd
And
never heard of him before other than knowing his name through you, but I didn't know anything about him before this book.
well, ladies, there's tons of YouTube videos where he's interviewed, and you can watch some of those if you don't want to read the book. And he has this other book, but these books are so medically focused. But basically, David's thing is nothing extreme except all these supplements he takes, right?
Yeah.
Because working out, exercising, everybody has a different definition of that. And 3 times a week, and he admits on all of these interviews that he travels so much. He's not a big gym guy. He's
Mm-mm,
not a big yoga guy. He's not a
mm-mm.
big anything guy. He just makes sure he does whatever his form of exercise is
I
three
think
times
he,
a week.
I think it was about him, but okay, so it said he works out moderately 3 days a week, but
Yeah.
walks at least 20 minutes a day. And it was
Okay.
fascinating to me that 20 minutes a day cuts your risk of heart disease in half, which is really a huge deal when you think that 1 in 4, I think, Americans suffers from heart disease at some point.
And this really, I know, like
I
everything
was
they
like,
basically everything they said is hopeful and wonderful for
yeah,
all of you and all of us because every little thing you do matters. And that's where we tend to say, well, it's only a little bit, so why bother? Well, this is why you should bother because
it's only a little bit. I get to
and it
do
really,
it.
yeah, and it really will make a difference.
Yeah.
So any amount of exercise, daily, anything towards health is good. Um, okay, so yeah, I got that too. And then what I was gonna say is that we can talk about the supplements. Let's talk about those first, because I
Okay.
like to spend more time on the sugar and the lifestyle and diet at maybe towards the end. So
Okay.
stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Stay to the end and you will get a surprise. Sorry. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Okay, so the NAD plus, I I can't even remember. All I can tell you is 2 years ago when I heard about him and I started following all this longevity stuff, I bought into some of the supplements and I
Okay.
started taking um NMN, is that right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, because one guy accidentally, I watched a video and a guy's asking him about M&Ms and he's all, don't take M&Ms
Oh, we
unless you don't want
finally
to live
have
a long
permission
time.
to eat M&Ms. Yeah. NMN is a precursor to NAD plus. Now you're going to have to go read the book or look it up, or I can read to you. I pulled up a bunch of stuff today and read through it to prepare for this video, but I didn't memorize it. So, I mean, I can, but it's so easy to find. And I'll tell you, this is not like, here's our disclaimer. This is not medical advice, and I don't have any affiliates with a company or whatever. But I researched it a couple of years ago, and I buy everything through, I think it's called Pro Health
Okay.
Longevity. And it was one of the companies that he said it's a clean company because you really shouldn't go on Amazon and buy stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
was
you
it the
should
book,
buy stuff.
Michelle, where they said that there are supplements you can buy, but they've been tested and they're not actually, they don't actually have, I feel like the chapter said
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and they say that about NMN, not to be confused with M and M's. Again, just to reiterate, so all of the things, but here were the things in this chapter was in it in M NMN and NAD plus D3 and K2 I take every day. D3 is sunshine, and you're out in the sunshine so much walking. But in Colorado, we have a lot of that, but I take it
I
because,
take it too. But what is K2?
well, K2, I remember reading about with the COVID thing, and I'd already been taking it. So K2 combined with D3, I don't remember why, but you should be taking both together. And I take it in I take this cod liver butter oil every day, and there's K2. I think the K2 comes in the cod liver oil or I don't know, but it's really good. To me, it's like dessert. It's cinnamon. I love it. I could eat like most
Okay, can you put it in the
people.
notes so I can
Yeah,
figure out where to
most
get my
people are
stuff?
like, that's disgusting. I'm like, this is my dessert every night. I take like a quarter teaspoon. I love it. It's so yummy. It, and it's good for you. So when I say it's good for you, that means it's been scientifically proven through their book and their doctors. I don't remember what. Then he talks about peptides. Now the do you remember listening to the Oh, maybe that's more in chapter 10.
I was
Maybe
gonna
we
say
should
I
wait.
don't remember that, and I'm pretty good with retention.
Okay, let's wait and talk about in chapter
Okay.
10 later. Yeah. But so I think these were the main ones. Was there anything else? Did he talk about metformin? I
don't
think
think
that's
in this
later. We'll
one.
do a different thing on that because,
Okay.
and then maybe what we'll do is read a little bit about the benefits of each one. But
Okay.
I know that in MN, it's about skin. It's about what are those things in your brain? The telomeres. Uh, it's about ATP. It's about all the things that come together called aging. Anti-aging, so longevity. Yeah, I'll share some links in the description. Okay, so you guys can actually read about it. And on the site, if you don't get the book, on this site where I buy my stuff, Pro Health, they have a lot of literature on there, and you can call them up and they'll just pick up the phone. You can ask them questions. So there are some, and I think in the book they will give you, I'm sure, like they have invested in all these companies. So you can go to their website. It's probably
Do
like,
you remember any benefits that because this is something you've been doing for a long time? Are there benefits that you were cognizant of that you're like, oh, this actually,
here's the problem with all this stuff. Like, how do you know? And this is why I want to talk about lifestyle, because for me, that is the most obvious. Like when you don't sleep, you know the impact of sleeping.
yeah.
When you drink too much, I did last night, you know that you are compromised the next
Well,
day.
I wake up in the middle of the every time without exception, it seems. If I drink, I mean, even just like a glass of wine,
Yep,
I wake up in the middle of the night.
me
And
too.
the one thing,
So
have
does
you ever
everyone
used an Oura ring or anything like that? Anything
else.
that's monitoring your sleep for you?
No, because I had so many sleep problems. Like from the moment I had my first child, I
Okay.
mean, and my kid, and when I finally just, and I was a hustle mode generation,
Okay.
I don't know about you. I think most of us were in that generation of you're supposed to sacrifice sleep. Like there's something wrong. So
I
when I
know there was a time I took pride that I could
me
easily do
too,
4 hours and be fine.
it was an American thing. It was like our hustle culture. Well, when I never told anyone that I intermittent fasted because they thought I was anorexic, I didn't even, it wasn't even called that, right? I didn't tell anyone I was taking naps because naps were weak people things, like you have no mental control if you're taking a nap. But when I started doing that, and then I started going to bed at 9:30 every night. Like I still do that, except occasionally, like if I'm out
Hmm. Hmm.
or my son wants to be up, I would stay up all night to be with him or whatever. But pretty regularly, it changes your
It
life.
does.
Yeah, I
It
don't need
does.
an aura ring. I don't need
Who's,
any.
well, the reason I asked about it, Huffington Post, what is her name? She wrote Thrive.
I never heard of that. I don't
Oh,
know.
it's such a great book, but she talked a lot about sleep. She basically had a breakdown from
Yeah.
that hustle culture, and she was like the owner of the Huffington Post. Arrington Huffington. Ariana Huffington. That's what her name
I
is.
don't know her, so sorry.
Well,
Ariana.
her book was
I
awesome.
like your name and congratulations on your
I
success.
well, I read it like, oh, guy, maybe it's 8 years ago, but she talked about a practice of going to sleep and waking up when your body wakes up naturally. But the reason I asked about the aura ring and stuff like that,
Okay, I'm so sorry. I do
go.
remember hearing about that. And I tried that technique because I couldn't sleep through the night. I'd get up and start writing. I wrote so much. That didn't work for me. I was tired the next day. I call
Well,
bullshit on that. No, you should just like drink magnesium and go back to sleep.
okay, I use magnesium and vitamin C. I do a little combo each night, but not every night. Okay, but the reason I asked about the aura ring is I went to this one chiropractor. I can't remember what kind of stuff she did, but she hooked me up to a machine and she told me that I'm not getting a like that my sleep cycles were in stress cycles. Like I was in fight, flight, freeze during sleep. And
Oh,
so the aura ring kind of tracks when you're in REM, when you're and there's other things that do it. I don't have the ring. My girlfriend wears one. I just happened to be with her and was talking to her about it. So when I wake up, I feel very rested. And that chiropractor was about 2 years ago, and I've made some changes that like I can feel a difference in my nervous system, and I
yeah.
don't wake up like I'm already behind and with a racing heart. But I was still curious. Like I would just be interested to see the quality of my sleep.
And I do not mean to be silly, snobby about this. I really think that the tools are there. I mean, and if you're having any issue with sleep, that could be a great tool for you because it is really, I remember the pain of that. Like you
Yeah,
just,
and I feel like I sleep really good. I was just curious based on um what we were saying about 8 hours of sleep and quantifying whether how restful that sleep is.
yeah.
One thing that I forgot to say in his, I mentioned limiting the red meat, the no sugar, the limiting alcohol, 8 hours of sleep, working out 3 times a week. He only eats one meal a day, generally speaking, and it is dinner. And so that kind of caloric restriction. Well, I had just moved myself from 20 hour, I also intermittent fast. So from 20 hours to the 16 hours and more like 2 meals a day. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go back to my 1 meal a day.
Oh,
So
yeah. How's that? Did you do that already or you're thinking of doing that?
okay, so I noticed that the short answer is I've really more gone to 1 meal and a snack. So
Okay.
like I didn't just a lot of times I just jump right in and but I noticed myself getting super duper hungry around the time that I and instead of doing the thing of just drinking water and exercising and pushing through, I've stretched it further and then so I'm getting closer to just one solid meal. Um But right now, like I said, I'm at one meal and a snack. And that's just been for the last 3 days. It's
So,
a brand new shift.
okay, yeah. I think the great thing about all of this is that there's so much information, and it's great to expose ourselves and educate and then experiment, which is what we're doing really.
Yeah, that's all we're doing.
We have this opportunity to figure out what works best for us, you know?
Yeah.
Some people don't need that much sleep. I definitely do. I prioritize that over everything else. So regarding this is where my interest really lies. I mean, the supplements I take, like I said, are NMN, D3, K2,
K2.
cod liver oil. I do a vitamin C complete flush about once a month during the winter, just like if I feel low at all because of that. And you can look that up. You have to do it with really good, I don't know if you've ever done that, but it will clean you out and reset you. Um, and I mean, I take some other stuff sometimes, like
With your flush, well, I can look it up, but is it a magnesium with the vitamin C flush?
it's pure vitamin C.
Okay.
And you just keep taking, you know, there's a whole thing. I'll post a link to that too.
Okay.
It's a whole thing that every 15 minutes and you drink a ton of water and it totally flushes out your system and saturates your everything with vitamin C. It's good for you, I think. I mean, it helps. Like if you feel like a cold is coming on or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I take like B vitamins and this is really weird, but I really do
I feel like, what is
I
this?
like niacin. You know how they talk about the NMN, so niacinamide or however niamid that niacinamide or whatever it is. I like the flush. Like the first time I bought the wrong
The
kind,
when it makes your skin vibrate. I was like,
you like that? So I do too, because most people don't take the flush kind, and it in them in it's in there. But every once in a while, I'll just take one of those niacin pills because I like to know that like my circulation is. I just like to feel that.
well, that's
It's
the
kind of
same
like when
reason
you
I
do
like to
breath
eat
work
asparagus because
because you're allergic to it and it gives you hives. We're just looking for a quick.
no,
My
because it
God.
changes the smell of my urine, so it makes it
Oh my
feel like
God.
it's doing something
You are
really big.
you are absolutely crazy. You are weirder than I am. Absolutely, definitely. Okay, just we're editing that part out. She always says something totally weird. Oh my God. Okay, so I don't think asparagus.
It is asparagus, right? I'm not confused, am I?
I don't. I don't know because I don't eat asparagus, but I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
asparagus. I get
I'm not.
asparagus and artichokes confused. I had to walk myself through. Okay, which one
My
has
point
this?
is like I don't know if that's a longevity.
It's probably
She's just talking about weird stuff. Okay, so anyway, the reason I'm interested in environmental and lifestyle choices is that I think it's really, really obvious. And unless you have a condition or like the vitamin C flush is obvious, but I don't know if you, some people might notice a difference. People on the website, there's all kinds of reviews.
well,
So
they talked about that there's a test that they do to see how, okay, so there's your biological age and then there's your like the
yeah,
age of your body. And
yeah,
so David Sinclair is 53, but his body is actually only 33. So
yeah.
that would be super duper interesting. I don't know that it's accessible to just ordinary folk right now.
Yeah, he said there's a thing a test that his company is releasing that you can do like a cheek swab
Oh,
and
that,
it's
yeah.
like $1. So I think you'll have to go to his website and we'll put all this stuff in there.
But
Um,
the thing he was saying about the lifestyle, and Michelle, correct me if my memory's off, but I want to say it was 20% genetics. And then we have all this power over with lifestyle and environment to change. Like we're not stuck basically with our whatever genes get passed on to us. our lifestyle has such a huge impact. So the idea of, well, I'm this way because my family, this runs in my family. Well, we're not stuck with that script. And that was really cool. I mean, I think we've known that in some way for a long time now, but just hearing it again in this book, and it also showed me that just because I know what to do, the parts that I do know and what I do, they don't always match. And I ebb and flow, So for me, this book was a real good, like, a reset.
Well, what you just mentioned is the most significant piece of all, that it's not about the genome. He talks about that in the epigenome. And so it really that because look where we've put our control for decades, it runs
Yeah.
in my family kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
Like we're just stuck.
it's not the truth. That isn't,
Mm-mm.
it is not
Mm-mm.
accurate. So we have control. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do, because I do want to mention a couple of things. We recently, Lisa, Michelle, and I recently did a 10-day fast that we recorded our experiences every day live. And the reason we did that was mostly for ourselves, to hold ourselves accountable, because we had to show up every day at about 6 o'clock my time, I think 5 o'clock your time,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yep.
is kind of the witching hour where you just want to go to happy hour and eat chips or whatever. And that would help us stay accountable to
It
this
absolutely did.
fast, except not for me because I didn't ever really give up tea or coffee. I don't
I
know if
think
I,
both of us allowed tea and coffee. I mean, I counted that as brown water.
yeah, me too. But anyway, so what interests me is that coming off of that, that wasn't that long ago. So I'm
Mm-mm.
curious about, like you're talking about the dives. I think this is a significantly important piece for us to talk about, and then we can commit to what we are going to do about that for next week or whenever we come back on
Mm-hmm.
this topic. Because I think this is what we tend to do. Like we get coming off of a 10-day fast, and then what caused you to go into the sugar thing? Do you know? Was it stress? Was it emotion? Was it celebration? Like,
Um, I I don't remember exactly because I do feel like there was a celebration thing, but I went, my body's changing. I went 60 days without a menstrual cycle. And then I started like out of the blue. And I don't know whether it was like a muscle memory kind of a thing, but I tend to like dark chocolate and me go together at that time of the month. And I think that's where it started. And then there were some other events that came up. I think my husband and I traveled, and we just kind of, once I give myself permission, I don't tend to be, I'm just going to be mindful of my language. Moderation sounds good to me sometimes, and sometimes moderation becomes a slippery slope for me.
and
How's that?
I no, I think this is true for all of us, really. It's like once you open the door, you're not rigid, and then I mean, we're just kind of like, God, I did a 10-day fast and this is a short life.
Yes, all the little, yeah,
Rationalizations, and we don't hold ourselves. And also this is interesting too, because it goes back to the a little bit's not going to hurt me, and then a little bit becomes, and that also works in the other direction too, right? Maybe
yes.
if I make a little good choice, I'll make another little good choice and another little good choice. So I really appreciate talking about this.
Yeah. Well, my husband
How long
brought home, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say, how long after, because as I recall, you broke the fast properly and
Yeah.
I didn't. I just
I
like, I don't even remember what I ate, but I was just like, I'm done. I think I had broth 3 days before we were done or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I broke the fast with bone broth and ended up at a girls' night.
Oh,
Either
yeah.
it might have even been the next day after I broke the fast or 2 days after. And I'm just gonna say I had fried like sweet potato fries. I don't remember what, like I had a glass of wine. I had,
Yeah.
and it was just so easy. But I did, the reason I thought the fat that you were bringing up the fast, and I want to be mindful of the time, is because if you're wondering why Michelle and I started at chapter 4, um, some of the chapters were on stem cell and this sort of stuff, and we did find that we get new stem cells. Am I saying that right, Michelle?
Yes. Fasting is the only way you can get new stem cells without paying for it.
Yeah, and so that's after day 5. Am I remembering that right? Or 7?
7, I think.
Okay, so after day 7, and Michelle and I didn't want to do another fast, and we don't have a
It's
stem
just,
cell
I don't want to
hookup.
feel like I'm left out. I want to go buy stem cells. No, but
So
isn't
we just
that a good
decided to
point?
start with something that felt more accessible right now.
So I don't even know if they address fasting. Surely they must. But often people, when they talk about fasting, they're referring to intermittent fasting, which I think is kind of a cheating us in terms of education, which
Of
is why
what's,
I also will put that beautiful Indian doctor.
oh, our guy.
He's our guy. You guys
Well,
can
yeah,
share.
we
You can
kind of
share with
adopted him as our fasting guru.
He's amazing. Okay, so I don't want to run out of time. I want to so I want to piggyback on that and tell you, when I say I drank too much last night, I had 2 margaritas. Okay. It's not like I was out like lushing it up.
Yeah,
But for
yeah.
me, that's a lot because I don't eat sugar. I very, very, very rarely. But what happens is your slippery slope. So um, I I really like tequila. I got to tell you, I love tequila. And so there's a lot of selection and it's really cool to try. And there's a woman, local woman who started a company. And I was at this bar for a networking event. I don't just go to bars. I'm hosting this event for a friend of mine. And this is all justified rationalization, but I had a margarita, right? And then this woman, I heard that this was one place in Fort Collins. She's a Fort Collins native. I wanted to try her tequila. So the guy at the bartender had never heard of it. So I'm educating him. He pulls it out the thing, and like out of 300 tequilas, he's reading about it. And then he's like, let's have a shot of it and see what it tastes like. So I did have 2 margarita, or okay, I had a margarita, a shot, a half shot, and then whatever drink he concocted. It wasn't a margarita. And this is where I think I started slipping, because tequila doesn't really have sugar. I don't have, all I have it with is lime juice. I don't put anything else in it. No, whatever they put in it, margarita mix or whatever. No,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
nothing. And so I'm okay. Even the shot was, or the half a shot, whatever it was, the taste was okay. But then he said, I tasted it and I was like, this is so interesting. It tastes more like a bourbon, or like something that would be in an old fashioned, like it wants orange. And he's like, yes, why don't I create a signature cocktail? I'm like, okay. And you know what he put in there? Sugar. So he put a little bit of scotch, a little bit of Grand Marnier, a little bit of something else that, like, Grand Marnier to me is like all sugar, and some other sugary thing. Oh, and some bitters. And then I drank it and I left the bar and all I could think about was, I feel like I should run by Sprouts or Lucky's and like pick up some of those like jelly beans or something. Like I wanted more sugar. Like your
Well,
body
that's how our
is,
body works.
I know it. So our body, and I'm thinking, why am I thinking like this? Like I didn't even do that on Easter. I didn't even buy jelly beans on Easter. Why would I go? And I wanted
Yeah.
to buy like those, I don't even know what they're called, but they're full of, all they are like sugar and dye, food dye. That's really bad for you. And I thought that would be the best
Idea.
Yeah, I was just like, that would just be like, what do they call it? The nightcap for the drink, right? And so I did not buy the candy, but I did buy chocolate, and I don't have a thing for chocolate anymore. To your point, that went away from me when my period, when I quit having. So
Really?
there's a huge connection
Well,
for some reason.
so tonight, as we wrap up, I am gonna get back to no sugar, and I'll tell you what my hesitation is. On Easter, we went to my husband's aunt's, and she bought everybody a See's Candy Easter bunny. Well, she didn't realize this, but she didn't know they were different types of chocolate. So she got three of them that were dark chocolate. Nobody but me liked dark chocolate. I brought home three of those dang Easter bunnies, put it in a Ziploc bag, smashed it up. So now I've got all these little pieces of dark
You
chocolate.
don't have to eat it just because you kept it.
I understand this, Michelle. I do. My point is, I'm just telling you the way my little brain works, knowing that there's
I know.
these
I'm
Easter,
just,
but the
I
nice thing is there are two Easter bunnies in there that are still wrapped in their foil. They still look all cute. And I did finish before this the bag that I had
oh,
smashed, but I
okay.
was also eating with frozen raspberries. So my
You know
commitment
how
is
honest we really are here. Ladies, you can get away with nothing. You must be honest. Okay,
so
so
my commitment is no sugar. And I'm still, well, actually tomorrow I'm going away on a hike in Bishop. I'm gonna sleep.
yeah.
It's supposed to snow. I'm a little nervous. I'm
Oh,
tent
wow.
camping. I
Snow? It's supposed to snow there?
Yeah, well, I don't know how our altitude, but yeah, my husband's like, honey, if you're here, it's gonna be in the 30s, but if you're here, you're gonna get snow. And I'm such a wimp. So anyway, long story short,
You can
I
do home
am,
therapy.
oh,
Today is Wim Hof's birthday. I saw. I think
oh,
today,
that's kind
maybe it
of
was yesterday.
cool.
Yeah, so you can.
Regardless, so the sugar and then oh yeah, I'm going to one meal a day starting tomorrow. So
Okay,
those
so
are my two
I
things.
I do one meal a day already. Like that's just what I do. But it hasn't really helped me. I don't know why I'm stuck at this thing. But I would like to commit to a 90-day thing. Do you want to
Did
do
you see that? Did you see the twitch in Michelle's eye when she said commit? Did anybody notice?
because guys, I or ladies, I committed, I could show you my book. 4 days ago was day one for me for 90 days of no sugar. And then I
Okay.
went to see Jersey Boys with my son, and we went out to dinner and I had a margarita. Okay. And then I had to start over the next day. And then he baked bread and I had just like a tiny piece, but that's cheating. Like, so every day for 4 days, I haven't been able to get through the day. So tomorrow, I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. So I'm starting again tomorrow with day one. I really want to
Okay.
get through 90.
90 days, no sugar, and we'll do it together. We'll text
Do
each
you
other.
want to do
Like,
it? And that means,
yes.
do you realize that's no alcohol for 90 days? That's 3 months. And that would be like May, June, July, like that's a long time. So I would
Okay.
like to do that because I want to, last year, I
Look,
was,
if I can do 10 days of no eating with you, I can do 90 days of no sugar.
yeah. And then the diet thing is very controversial because I'll just, I don't know if I should even mention this. I know people, but I used to not eat meat for a very long period of time. I didn't eat meat. I didn't drink coffee. I was like this thing. And when I started eating meat along, everything was a long time ago because I've been around so long. But the second long time ago, um, it was the thing that made me feel better. And now I have, the last couple years, been really reading a lot about carnivore and the benefits of eating meat, especially for women. And so last year I did, I guess it was 4 months of no sugar, no alcohol, no carbs, no carbs. Like all I ate was meat and eggs. I did carnivore.
Are you thinking about doing that again? And that's not from the book.
This is not from the book. Um, well, I don't know. They might address it because it is a big deal for longevity. So they might
Well, it's
address it.
interesting because he said the reason he went to mostly a plant-based diet, I watched one of his videos that he did for Google,
Yeah.
and he addressed it. Now, he didn't make a distinction between men and women, and I don't remember all the scientific language he used, but there was something specific that it caused your body to produce more of.
In, well, so
And so anyway, but so he went the opposite way. And I don't know, but who knows what they'll address more in our Life Force book.
yeah, I don't know if it'll come up because I know Dr. Anthony Chafee, Paul Saladino, like there are about Ken Berry, there's like 4 or 5, um, at least 2 of them are medical doctors who are huge proponents of carnivore. And I've read everything they have. And, I mean, my son laughs at me because, YouTube University or whatever, but truly there's a lot of great information out there. And
Yeah,
Dr. Anthony Chafee always links to scientific studies. So I'll be surprised if they don't address it in this book. But
in some
anyway,
way.
this is about doing the book. So what we're doing is taking on these lifestyle changes, and you're going to order some
Supplements.
in
Yeah,
M&Ms. She's
I'm
going
gonna order some M&Ms, but I won't
to
eat
go
them
with
because
your
I'm cutting out sugar for
to
90
go
days.
with your chocolate Easter bunnies. Okay, so day one
So
is,
it's tomorrow.
well, today's day one for me. It's
Oh,
been
well, it's not
really
for me because I already had my dark chocolate.
okay. Well, we can start tomorrow. I might need an extra. Okay, well, I'm excited about that. And we thank you all if you stayed and watched, and hope that you will. We do want to offer this up as a challenge for you all to join
So
us. Really, what would you like to do for 90 days? Is it sleep? Is it water? I mean, water's a thing. They haven't talked about water.
but
Uh,
that it seems like, yeah, is
is it
sleep, water, exercise, sugar, alcohol limitation. These are the ones that were talked about in that specific chapter. Or restricted calories through intermittent fasting.
Yeah,
So
choose one and join us and share what it's like.
make that our title, Michelle. What would you like to join us? What would you like to do for 90 days?
Okay. Yeah,
Maybe.
we love, because that's what it's about. It's doing something
Yeah.
and then tracking and just seeing what works and because honestly, veganism might work for one person and carnivore for another, and all of it is okay. I just think we got to do it.
Do the
I'm
book.
excited because we are. Okay, very good. Thank you for
Thank
being here,
you.
Lisa Michelle. And we will be back again with, I think the next thing is going to be follow up on.
Never split the difference from
What's the
Chris
difference.
Voss.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, ciao for now.
Ciao
Bye.
for now.